All right, so we're going to be going over this model here, and this model is going to be the microanatomy of the digestive system. And so it's going to be divided into 4 different segments. So this first segment here, at the very top, this is going to be representing the esophagus. This segment here is going to represent the fundus of the stomach. This next segment is going to represent the jejunum, which is part of the small intestine, and this final one is going to represent the colon, which is part of the large intestine. This video is just going to focus on the first 2 as part of the upper digestive system or upper GI tract. So this segment here is the esophagus, and all of our layers of our GI tract are going to be similar as we go through. And so if we start at the beginning, this is going to be our mucous membrane layer, or the tunica mucosa. And so this layer right here in the esophagus is going to be made of stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Right under here, we're going to have the lamina propria. And then this guy over here is going to be that little layer of smooth muscle that's going to help, it's going to be right under the mucous membranes to kind of help the glands release their secretions and things. And so this is going to be that muscularis mucosae. Now this guy right here is going to be one of those esophageal glands, and those esophageal glands are going to help secrete mucus to lubricate everything as you're swallowing. Got another one over here. So this part over here is going to be that mucosa. Now underneath the mucosa, we have got the submucosa, and this is going to be that submucosa over there, and you can see that's kind of where that gland is housed. Next, we're going to have the muscularis layer, and in the esophagus, we have 2 layers of smooth muscle, an inner circular and an outer longitudinal layer. Now remember with the esophagus, the first third of the esophagus is going to actually be made of skeletal muscle. The middle third is going to be kind of mixed, and then the final third is going to be made of smooth muscle as we go down. Now the last layer here is going to be the outermost layer, and in this case, the esophagus is not within the peritoneum. It is retroperitoneal, so it's not covered by the parietal peritoneum, right? It's up in, or even, any of the serous membranes in the chest. And so it's actually going to be covered by what we call an adventitia, which is basically covered by this layer of areolar connective tissue. If we look at the other side of this model over here, we can see that this is representing some interesting pieces. So right here, this is going to be the mucosal gland, and this is supposed to represent our stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Next, we're going to move on to the stomach. So this is representing the fundus of the stomach, and the first layer here, we'll start with the inside. This is going to be the mucosa again. The stomach has what we call gastric pits. And so these gastric pits kind of go straight deep down into the stomach, and at the bottom of those gastric pits are gastric glands. And those gastric glands and some of the cells along the edges of these gastric pits are going to help secrete some important secretions for, digesting things. As we go through, this is going to be our epithelial tissue layer over here, and it's going to be made of a simple columnar epithelium. And that simple columnar epithelium, we'll talk about a couple of the different types of cells that are going to be found in there. We also have some mucus glands in the stomach. This is going to be found in this lamina propria, which lies right under that epithelial layer. And then again, we have that muscularis mucosa, which is that thin layer of smooth muscle right at the edge of the mucosa. Next, we have the submucosa. And then we have our muscular layer here. The stomach actually has 3 layers, or it should be showing 3 layers of smooth muscle rather than just the 2. And so we are going to have the circular layer, we'll have the longitudinal layer, but we'll also have an oblique layer. Now, this is a little bit different. This is our outermost layer again. The stomach is an intraperitoneal organ, and so the outside of the stomach is going to be lined by the visceral peritoneum. So this outer layer we call a serosa. It's lined with a simple squamous epithelium that's going to be secreting that serous fluid to help make that peritoneal fluid. If we flip this over this way, we can see some of the glands. This is going to be that gastric pit and the gastric gland down here with the simple columnar epithelium. This is going to be a parietal cell. Then we have a chief cell, and we have one of the mucous neck cells.